Hey guys, it's Mrs. Wensley coming to you again with your notes. Got everything figured out here. So we are going to get started. The first thing I want you to do, put your name on the top of the paper. Block 1 is Wensley, block 2 is Gino, and block 3 is Marks. You don't have to write your teacher's initial, just write block 1, 2, or 3. Alright, today we're looking at section 9.3. Our central question is, how can you find the surface area of a cylinder? Alright, and our I can statement is, I can find surface areas of cylinders. Pretty straightforward there. Alright, the surface area of a cylinder, the definition for it. The surface area, represented as our capital S, so we're just going to write a capital S in here. Capital S, just like we did for the other shapes when we were finding surface area, our prisms, is the sum of the areas of the bases and the lateral, here's the word that's different, surface. So it's not called lateral faces because there's not more than one. It's called a lateral surface. So very similar, but there is a little bit of a difference. Excuse me. So a cylinder looks like this. Got our circle on the top, we've got our circle on the bottom, and then we have that area in between. If we were to unroll that area, just like if you unroll the wrapper on a soup can, it is actually a rectangle. So it looks like it should be circular when we look at it this way, but it's actually a rectangle. Our algebraic equation is S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. All I want you to do is rewrite it over here so that we can get in the habit of writing it down. So 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Remember, r is the radius. That is only halfway across the circle. H is going to be the height of the cylinder. So we're going to have the area of the bases and the area of the lateral surface. Remember that pi can be approximated at 3.14 or 22/7 in the fraction form there. If you do not remember that, there's your reminder. Please make sure you wrote it down so that you do not forget. Alright, and then we're going to flip the page. And up here, finding the surface area of a cylinder. Find the surface area of a cylinder and round your answer to the nearest tenth. Once again, there are 5 steps. I broke this down into 5 steps for us to follow to be able to get the answer. We're starting with this shape over here. Kind of hard to read. I apologize about that. That is a 4. And then that's your 3. So our step 1 is going to be draw a net. Step 2 is going to be rewrite our equation because we need to practice that. Step 3 is plug in your radius and your height to the equation. Step 4, we're going to solve the two different pieces of the equation separately and then simplify and multiply by pi. And then we're going to approximate it by rounding to the nearest tenth. Alright, so step 1 is draw the net. For this first example, I did provide the net for you. So you have two circles, these are the bases, and this is the lateral surface. The radius is 4 millimeters. Right there, that's 4 and that's 4. In both bases. So step 1, draw the net. Check. Step 2, rewrite the equation. Well, I'm struggling to remember it, so I'm going to go back to my first page. I'm going to look at it again, and I'm going to write it. S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Simple as that. Step 3, now I'm just going to plug the numbers into there. So I'm going to do S equals 2 times pi times 4 squared plus 2 times pi times 4 times 3. Now I know that 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16, plus 4 times 4 is 12. From here, because these are all multiplied and these are all multiplied, but there's a pi in each, so I don't have to plug the number in for pi yet. I can rewrite it. It's 2 times 16, which is going to give me, I'm going to write it on step 4, because step 4 is solve the two pieces of the equation separately. So 2 times 16 times pi, oops, sorry about that, plus 2 times 12 times pi. 2 times 16 will give me 32. We've got to carry that pi down because we didn't multiply it through yet. 2 times 12 would give me 24, and carry that pi down just like that. Now step 5, simplify and multiply by pi. Because both of these are now multiplied by the same number, we can actually add the two coefficients together. 32 plus 24 is going to give us 56 pi. So now we're going to do 56 times 3.14, and you should get approximately, remember these two lines mean approximately, 175.8. Now I want you to follow these same 5 steps up here, going through and solving the problem on your own problems, number 1 and number 2. All right. Now we're moving on to example 2. In case you didn't, you should have paused the video on those last two. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that. Pause the video and do those problems. All right, now we're going to move on to example 2, finding the surface area. We are just going to use this portion of the equation right here, 2 times pi times radius times height. And that is because we are only looking for the area of the wrapper. How much paper is what wraps around the cans, the cylinder. How much paper is used for the label on the can of peas. Find the lateral surface area of the cylinder. So once again, if you go back up to your first page, you see right here, this is the area of the bases, and this is the portion that's the area of the lateral surface. With the current example, we just want to find the lateral surface of this cylinder. So right here we're going to use this equation, and we're not going to include the areas of the bases. So we're going to plug in the numbers and solve. So we have S equals 2 times pi. I'm going to go over here. I see that my radius right there is 1 inch times my height over here, which is 2 inches. I'm going to multiply this through. I'm going to say 1 times 2 is 2. My pi is still there, and my 2 is still out front. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the 2 by the 2 to get 4 times pi. This is going to be 4 times 3.14, or if you choose to, you can do 4 times 22 divided by 7, 22 over 7. Either one of these is correct, whichever is easiest for you. 4 times 3.14 is approximately 12.56. Or if you just do it this way, you do 4 times 22 divided by 7. Four times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 88 divided by 7 would give me approximately 12.57. Because it's approximate and both numbers are rounded off, I would say that yes, those are really, really close. And had we rounded them, this would round up to 6 and this would round up to 6. So both numbers would be the same. When you are ready, we will turn the page. Oops, my page is stuck together. Sorry about that. All right, now looking at example 3. This is going to be a real-life application. The last one kind of applied to our life too. But not always. Not everybody buys stuff that's in cans. So we're looking at the next example. You earn 0.01 cents or dollars for recycling a can recycling the can in example 2. How much can you expect to earn for recycling the tomato can? Oops, I forgot to put the picture in this part. So I will go ahead and draw it for you, and then it will be in your example. Alright, so my picture, I'm going to have the top of my can, the sides of my can, the rounded bottom. So it's not perfect, but it's approximate. Alright. You have your picture of your can of tomatoes. I'm going to put a T on the front to represent my tomatoes. Your radius is 2 inches. And your height is 5.5 inches. So now the first thing we're going to do is we are going to rewrite our equation. So we're going to say S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. It's going to be 2 pi 2 squared plus 2 pi 2 5.5. I'm sorry, mine is super squeezed together because I had to draw my can in, but your can is already there. So you should be able to make yours fit. It's going to equal 2 squared is 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, plus 2 times 5.5. I'm going to give you a moment to figure out what 2 times 5.5 is. So we still have our 2 pi out front. 2 times 5.5 is going to equal 11. Now we're going to multiply. Because it's multiplication, we can change the order and it's still going to be the same. So you can say that the numbers we do know are 2 times 4 times pi plus 2 times 11, which is going to be 22 times pi. Now, both are multiplied by pi. So we can combine these two coefficients. 8 plus 22 is going to be 30 pi. We're going to leave it in that form for right now because it's going to be a little easier for what we're going to, the next step. Now looking at the can of peas from the last page, we're going to use the same numbers. So I'm going to flip over if you don't remember the numbers. Our radius is 1 and our height, our h, is 2. So we're going to have S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. 2 pi, the r over there was 1, squared plus 2 pi, 1 times 2. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. This one's going to be 6 pi. Pause it if you need to go back and look at the work from either one. I'm just following the equation and following my steps 1 through 5. Now we're going to use proportions to find the recycle value of value x of the tomato can. So we're going to take the amount that we had for the tomato can up here, the 30 pi. We have 30 pi inches squared over our x equals our 6 pi inches squared over 0.01. The reason why we have this is because our top row, these two right here, this is the surface area of the cans. surface area of peas, surface area of the tomatoes. The bottom on both sides is the recycle value. So now we're going to use the cross products property. Remember that says I can multiply this by this and this by this. So if I take my first portion, my first numerator, and divide it by the second denominator, I'm going to have 30 times pi. And because pi is an approximation, we're going to leave pi in there until the very end so that we can get as close as possible. Times 0.01, instead of equal to, because we have this equivalence sign here, we need to have an equal sign here. 6 times pi times x, or x times 6 pi. We're going to multiply that through. I'm going to give you a moment. Now, I'm going to look at this and say I could try to multiply both sides, but because that would be difficult, because we have decimals, we don't know what this is, it would kind of be messy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this 0.01 alone. I'm going to leave my x alone. What I'm going to divide by is 6 pi. 6 pi divided by 6 pi is going to give me my 1. 30 pi divided by 6 pi. We have pi in the numerator and denominator, so that cancels out pi. Now you just have 30 divided by 6, which is going to be 5. Now we have 5 times 0.01. So we're going to do the 5 times 1 is 5. So I'm going to put the 5 where that 1 is. Keep the 0 in front of it and put the 0 out front of the decimal. Equals to 1 times x, which is x. So you can expect to earn for recycling. The tomato can. Alright, and then if you don't have any questions, now you're going to do the on your own portion. Please note that this first part is what if. So what if we went back to examples 2 and 3 and we changed the height of the can of the peas? Answer A and B using this part. This one's just going to be yes or no. This one's going to be yes or no, and then tell me why. And then this is the end of our video. So you don't have to pause it. You are done. And I would like you to finish the on your own portion, and then remember to bring it up to me so that I can check it. Alright, ask me if you have any questions. Please, please ask them. If you don't understand, ask questions. Don't just shout, I don't understand, because that gets very, very overwhelming to me. And it's hard for me to tend to everybody who's shouting that out. It's much easier if you raise your hand and you're patient. I will get to you.